Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, it is a game of brinksmanship that Femi Falana is playing as he continues to poke at the hornet's nest and he continues to prod at the Malam Buhari regime to see where the give is. So he prods again as I bring you this. I have evidence of plans for Buhari's third term agenda. So this is the headline and it's credited to Femi Falana. I have evidence of plans for Buhari's third term agenda. So now let's see what the SAN has to say this time around. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana SAN has insisted that President Muhammadu Buhari has third term agenda, which he says kicked off in September. It had been reported that presidential spokesman Garba Shehu accused Falana of spreading fake news when he claimed that there were plans for the president to get another term. Shehu had also alleged that Falana was seeking personal media attention by spreading such claims. Responding, the lawyer defended his claims, insisting that the presidency was doing nothing to curb those campaigning for another term for Buhari. He said the third term agenda for President Muhammadu Buhari kicked off on September the 21st, 2019, under the auspices of Movement for the Approval of Buhari third term. The members of the group who launched the campaign in Abuja were not harassed by the police or the state security service. The president did not deem it fit to disown or dissociate itself from the campaign. However, following the popular rejection of the campaign, the presidency issued a statement on October the 2nd, 2019 to correct the internet-based gossip and uninformed media commentary regarding presidential term limits, given credence by so-called support groups, staging street demonstrations, asking President Muhammadu Buhari to do a third term. Notwithstanding the official denial of the third term agenda, the Buhari regime has since intensified its campaign for the emasculation of the opposition and constriction of the democratic space. This has been manifested in the subversion of the rule of law through disobedience of court orders, sponsoring of anti-media bills, and reckless arrest, detentions, and prosecution of perceived enemies of the federal government. Peaceful meetings and rallies against unpopular policies of the government are violently suppressed, whilst crowds are rented to attack groups and citizens who challenge authoritarian rule in the land. The presidency has decided to attack me for challenging the support groups and APC leaders that are behind the third term campaign, even though the campaigners are well known to the security agencies. They have not been attacked by the presidency, Falana said. So now this is Femi Falana again pointing out the double standards that goes on within the Nigerian space. And you see this all the time. If you take the attack on Deji Adeyanju as an example. So here is a guy that has gone to protest for good governance and and observing and obeying the rule of law within the Nigerian state, a worthy cause and a noble cause, because why would they not want good governance and the government to obey the rule of law? The opposite is anarchy, and this guy does not want anarchy in his own country. So he has gone to protest peacefully. He was not carrying any weapon. He was carrying nothing more potent than a small plastic bottle of water to hydrate himself. This is all the guy did, and he just went there to protest. And what did he get? He got the beating of his life, to the point that this guy is now in Dubai undergoing brain surgery. This is now the state that Deji Adeyanju is. He's fighting for his life now because he was fighting for a better country. And really, the real key thing that ties in with what Falana is saying here is where this guy went to protest, there were security operatives all over the place. There were policemen all over the place. There were DSS operatives all over the place. and they were all within visual distance of this attack, this brutal attack that happened upon, that was vested upon, that was put upon this Deji Adeyanju. So they all saw it happen, and they were all standing there. So now, what is their job other than to protect the citizens? So if the policeman's duty is not to protect the citizens, then what is his duty? This is really where the question is, and these are the questions that Femi Falana is asking, and is now charting the course of what seems now to be a third-term agenda strategy that these people have. And he is now using this strategy of flashing this up within the media space and bringing this to public attention to checkmate them before they get to the advanced stages of this now position that they are trying to develop and evolve. So this is the game of chess that Femi Falana is playing with the Buhari regime. But as I said, he is poking at the hornet's nest, because these people, they don't have the patience for an intellectual debate or logic and reasoning. They don't have that patience. They will allow you one small leeway, one small window, and then they round you up or gun you down. And I'm not quite sure that a man of Falana's vintage can withstand the sort of things that we saw Omoyele go through. Can you imagine them putting Falana in a chokehold in the courtroom, which is something that these people can do, because we've seen them do it before. So he needs to tread carefully. He's a man of law, is a man of learning, is a revered man within the Nigerian space. Of course, he needs to continue to be vocal, because if he doesn't speak up, then who will? You know, because if people like Falana and Sowore, if they don't speak up, then who will? Because everybody is so coward and intimidated within that Nigerian space. I was watching a TV clip once. I think it's The View is called. All these women that they gather in a panel to discuss affairs of the state. Is the Nigerian version. They call it The View. So this woman was talking about the goings on in the Nigerian space, but she was being very careful with her wordings. And then she got to a point where I said that I have to be mindful of what I say on this television station. This is one of the panelists, so just a classic middle-income, middle-aged sort of Nigerian woman in a Nigerian television station having to say this was. She was saying she had to be careful of what she says on that program, because she doesn't want to be picked up, because this was the warning that they gave her when she was leaving home, that be careful what you say on that program, so that these people don't come and pick you up. Or you see what happened to Sowore. So they have now put that fear in the heart of the average Nigerian, to the point that we cannot even voice an opinion within our country anymore. So if we don't have voices like Falana, Sowore, etc., then these people will just have an open field to run wild. But then, of course, Nigeria has never been a place that anybody can completely cower, because there is always that voice that cries out against the injustice that goes on within this space. That voice was Fela Kuti. That voice was Taisho Lani. That voice was Wole Soyinka. That voice is now Falana and Sowore. So that voice is always there to cry against the injustice and to say, no, we can't be this uncivilized. We can't be uncivilized to the point where a court of law will give an order, and then some malam in Aso Rock will tell the court that he has a different idea, and nothing moves until he says so. We cannot have that sort of a system, because that's sort of like a warlord type system, and the Yoruba race, and I'm sure the Igbo people too, they don't have a warlord type of system within their history or their mindset or their thoughts for the future. So that sort of warlord, strong man, the winner takes all, I hold all the guns and I control everything, that sort of system is not something that tallies, that sits with our own mindset. And this really is the narrative now that Falana and Sowore are championing, and thankfully they are both aligned, and Nnamdi Kanu, of course, is sending support from wherever he is. So we have to have those voices, But then, of course, the people that these people are speaking against, they have a different mindset. Their own system is, of course, that warlord system that we've described, and they don't really have the patience for dissenting voices. You remember how they threw Fela Kuti's mother off a balcony to her death. I think it was under this same Buhari regime, wasn't it, when he was the military dictator then? So this guy has a history of a lack of patience for intellect or debate or superior thinking or an alternative way. His own idea is my way or Yamutu. And this is an understanding that I'm sure that Falana has too. So he has to tread carefully. But of course, we have to have those voices pushing against the government to caution against the direction that is not for the people. Conversations in the comment section, a game of brinksmanship being played by the senior advocate of Nigeria. What says you? How are you positioned in how Sowore and Falana and a little bit of Nnamdi Kanu? So I'm saying a little bit of Nnamdi Kanu because, of course, Nnamdi Kanu has his own ideas. His own idea is secession from Nigeria and a Biafra state, but broadly is in support of the movement and the fight that is being led by Sowore and Falana. So that's why I'm capturing it in that manner. So come tell me how you capture it in your own mindset in the comment section. But before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come tell me what you're making of this real game of chess being played by it's not even chess, it's like Russian roulette. So it's a game of Russian roulette really being played by the senior advocate of Nigeria with the Balamis and the cabals. So come tell me what your take is in the comment section. So I'll leave you here, carry on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace.